Todd Collins is the new boss.
Because I'm the boss of this family. You forget.
I forget nothing.
No, not that boss. I meant the boss of the Redskins. Collins makes his first start in 10 years tonight, and Todd's performance last week against the Bears has the Redskins thinking playoffs.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Up next, a trip up the Jersey Turnpike to face the G-Men.
We have a search warrant.
No, not those G-Men, these G-Men. It's round 2 against the Giants, and this season, Eli Manning and Plaxico Burress have been a lethal combination.
This hurt all of us.
Put on your party hat. The Redskins are celebrating their 75th anniversary season this year. We take a look back and talk old school Redskins with historian Mike Richman.
The memory on you.
So show your true colors and raise your hands. We're picking burgundy and gold as we get ready for the playoff push on this week's Lexus Redskins Game Plan.
Welcome to the NFL, rookie.
Welcome back to Lexus Redskins Game Plan. The Redskins are celebrating their 75th anniversary season this year. Been a long time, and that is a lot of burgundy and gold.
Yes, and who better to discuss one of the NFL's most storied franchises than Redskins historian Mike Richman, who joins us today. Mike, thank you so much for being here, and we want to show people that you have compiled what is called the Redskins Encyclopedia, a treasure trove of this team's history. I know how much of a labor of love this was for you. So what was the process on you finding all this history and digging up all these facts?
Well, first of all, I'm a native Washingtonian, and starting in the 6th grade, I believe, I wanted to write a book, and it had to be football related. I wrote a book called The Amateur Who Played Like a Pro about a star player at Ohio State. So I had that in mind for many years. I became very passionate about the Redskins when George Allen came here in 1971. Then I chose journalism as my trade, and I was a stringer for the Associated Press in the late 90s. And I sort of packaged the whole thing together, the passion plus my journalistic skills. In terms of the research and writing, it took about 8 years. Wow. Overall.
8 years?
8 years.
Good gracious.
I started at the beginning of the '99 season.
Okay.
And when Dan Snyder bought the team, and I started doing internal work for the Redskins on a freelance basis, so that helped considerably.
Man, 8 years. You haven't had a lot of free time, I would imagine.
No.
Hey, looking back to 1964, obviously, when Sonny Jurgensen came to the team, DC Stadium started selling out. What did you find unique when looking back to, to that instance and Sonny coming here?
Well, that was one of the most lopsided trades in NFL history, and it was one of the greatest, if not the greatest trade in Redskins history. Norm Snead, who was the Redskins quarterback at the time, was sort of an above-average quarterback. But the Redskins were able to deal him for Jurgensen, who came from the Eagles. And Jurgensen just lit the skies in the 1960s. He had some great receivers in Charlie Taylor, Bobby Mitchell, and tight end Jerry Smith. And it was like an aerial show, and they filled the seats. The Redskins started selling out games because of those guys in 1966.
We got to love Sonny. I mean, thank God Sonny came here for us, man. He has been an institution. Another big part of this book I'm looking at, this thing is just an absolute monster, has to be George Allen and the over-the-hill gang. They brought the Redskins their first championship in 30 years. They beat Dallas 26-3 to win the NFC title. That has to be a big chunk of this, I would think, right?
Absolutely. Well, George Allen was a very special figure here in Washington. He came here in 1971 after some great years coaching the Rams, so he had a track record, and he just transformed the whole franchise. The Redskins were 6-8 the season before, after the death of Vince Lombardi, and he just created this whole winning atmosphere here in D.C. The city was starving for a winner, and he delivered.
418 pages as I look at this monstrosity right now.
You haven't read a book that long, have you?
Never. Chock full of information.
Just
now, we're talking about some times that I remember now. 1983, Redskins, Cowboys, Dexter Manley knocks Danny White out of the game. These are memories that are etched in my mind. I love this time period.
Well, that 1983 game was all part of the first Gibbs era, which was the most successful period in Redskins history. They went to 4 Super Bowls, won 3 of them. In that particular game, the championship game in January of '83, that sent the Redskins to Super Bowl XVII, which was their first.
Right there. How about that?
Their first championship since 1942. So in beating the Dolphins in Super Bowl XVII.
And talk a little bit about the memory that has been voted one of the favorite plays by fans, which of course is John Riggins' 43-yard touchdown run. Why do you think that has solidified itself as such a special moment for all these Redskins fans out there?
Well, it just had all the elements of a classic moment. You had 4th and 1. You had that play was going to determine the outcome of the game. And you had the Hogs. And everybody knew what the play was going to be. Everybody knew that Riggins was going to get the ball. And it's like, you know, just capitalizing on the moment, seizing the moment, and he did. And people just, they admire that so much.
One more thing we have to talk about is obviously Darrell Green is going to be eligible to get into the Hall of Fame. Art Monk, as far as I know, we're all concerned, should be in the Hall of Fame as well.
It's a travesty,
Any
Mike Richman?
chance that both of these guys were to get in this year?
Well, I think Darrell Green will be an initial ballot inductee into the Hall of Fame. I think Monk should definitely be in. Anybody who has ever been the all-time leading receiver in NFL history should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'd say so.
On the flip side, Monk didn't have what you would call like a signature catch, one thing that could be working against him in comparison to Lynn Swann, who had fewer than 500 receptions in his career, but he had those 2 famous catches in the Super Bowl.
Everybody remembers him.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And
all right, Mike Richman, thank you so much
Thanks,
for showing
Mike.
up.
thank you very much for having
Again,
me.
the book is called Redskins Encyclopedia.
you
Everyone
for having
should get it for the holidays.
Perfect
Stay with
Christmas
us.
gift.
There is much more to come on Redskins Game Plan.